Radiation therapy to begin shortly on Nevis, and ECCB to introduce new banknotes. Regionally, Maduro cuts ties after U.S. backs opposition. Internationally, Russia condemns bid to usurp power from Maduro. And in sports, Hardik Pandya and KL Rahul bans lifted by BCCI. We'll have details of these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's Powerhouse.
Wrong.
Now the national news in detail. On January 10, 2019, urologist Dr. Dwayne Thwaites, speaking to the VON Newsline, disclosed that preparations are being made for radiation therapy to begin here on Nevis.
We're now actually in the process of doing our first set of radiation therapy in Nevis. Everything is set up thanks to the Nevis Island government and the permanent secretary, Nicole. She is instrumental in helping us set up a program to do radiation in Nevis itself, and one of the forerunners of radiation therapy for prostate cancer in the Caribbean itself. There's not many of the islands do radiation therapy.
Dr. Thwaites was speaking ahead of the 13th annual prostate screening drive, which was held on the island. Some 2 weeks following this revelation by Dr. Thwaites, the VON Newsline caught up with Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health here on Nevis, Mrs. Nicole Slack-Liburd, who provided this update.
They're coming along well. I know that there are about 4 or 5 patients that are scheduled, and so just finalizing, and should be able to move forward shortly in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Mrs. Nicole Slack-Liburd. The radiation facility will be housed at the Alexandra Hospital. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank will put new EC polymer banknotes in circulation in May or June 2019. Polymer is a substance that has a molecular structure consisting chiefly or entirely of a large number of similar units bonded together. Example, many synthetic organic materials used as plastics and resins. Acting Director of ECCB's Currency Management Department, Robert Humphrey, said that the polymer notes will be the same size and look similar to the existing paper notes, but with improved security features and other changes. He explained why the ECCB made the move to change the EC notes at this time, despite its low susceptibility to counterfeiting.
Very often we tend to add security features to our banknotes. We tend to upgrade our banknotes with security features, and this was an opportune time for us to make changes to our banknotes. And we just thought that we should just go the full length. We considered the holographic foil strip on the 20s, the 50s, and the 100s, and the see-through feature on the banknotes. But we know that issuing authorities, central banks around the world, this is what they are going to, polymer, eventually. I mean, it started in 1988, and more countries are progressing towards polymer. And we didn't want to wait until it creep upon us.
Mr. Humphrey says although the new notes will cost the ECCB more to print, they will last longer than the paper notes.
3 to 5 times longer than paper banknotes. 3 times minimum, 5 times if we take care of them. With polymer, it's much more difficult. It doesn't matter how strong you are, it's difficult to tear. Because of the nature of them, I mean, it's difficult for you to get a clean cut tear in the plastic. The cleanliness of the banknotes. And security in terms of the features, right? Those are the 3 main reasons why we go this route.
Acting Director, ECCB's Currency Management Department, Rosbert Humphrey. St. Kitts and Nevis's Prime Minister and current Chairman of the Caribbean Community CARICOM, Dr. Honorable Timothy Harris, is currently in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, where he is holding several rounds of discussions with top-level CARICOM officials, including Secretary General Ambassador Erwin Larocque. The Prime Minister is accompanied on his visit by Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Andrew Skerritt, and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ms. Kay Bass. The Prime Minister is accompanied on his today, Thursday, January 24th, the Prime Minister met with Ambassador Larocque for discussions. The Prime Minister is also expected to meet with the members of the Secretariat's Executive Management Committee. The CARICOM chairman will also address the staff of the Secretariat. Later this evening, Prime Minister Harris will attend a special dinner hosted by the Indian High Commissioner in honor of 150 years of celebrating the Mahatma. Month-long classes began this week at the police training school to train specialized auxiliary police called Island Constables to patrol prescribed areas tourists frequent and provide a wide variety of services. 30 new students have begun training to become specialized auxiliary police called Island Constables. They will be taking a curriculum organized by the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, collaborating with the Ministry of Tourism. Constables successfully completing the course will be sworn in by the Governor General, following which they will patrol prescribed areas tourists frequent and provide a wide variety of services. National Security Advisor, retired Major General Stuart Saunders, said over the next few weeks the participants will learn about areas concerning the law and policing, observation skills, how to write reports and take statements, how to interact with tourists, how to give accurate directions, customer service, and conflict resolution. Island Constables will learn about the history of St. Kitts and Nevis and the history of the tourism industry. The late Ivan Charles Buchanan, CBE JP, will receive an official funeral next week on the day he would have turned 98 years old. The Thanksgiving service to celebrate the life and legacy of the longest-serving Speaker of the National Assembly will be held on Monday, January 28, 2019, at the Wesley Methodist Church in Basseterre at 10 a.m. Mr. Buchanan served as Speaker of the National Assembly for 10 years, from February 6, 1985 to 1995, under the Dr. Kennedy Simmons People's Action Movement, PAM administration, and one of the earliest speakers in a post-independence St. Kitts and Nevis. He received several awards for his sterling service to nation building, including War Service Medal from Her Majesty's Government in 1945, Commander of the British Empire in 1992, and Health and Community Service Award from the Government of St. Kitts and Nevis in 1983. As the 2019 Culturama festivities approach, the Ministry of Culture here on Nevis and the Nevis Culturama Committee are making early preparations for the event. The two entities have organized a series of public consultations leading up to the Culturama 45. The talks are aimed towards encouraging the public to share their ideas on how the festival can be improved. Executive Director of the Culturama Secretariat is Mr. Antonio Abernathy Liburd.
Because culture has evolved over the years, we want to get a sense for the general public as to what they would want to see happening for the staging of Culturama 45. And so we have decided to come to the public and to sit and discuss and solicit ideas from members of the general public as to where they would like to see Culturama going in years to come, and also to get ideas that we can use to formulate the activities for this year's festival.
Mr. Liburd also gave the dates of the consultations.
Starting next week, Thursday, January 31st, we are going to be going with a public consultation that will be held at the Pond Hill Community Center, and that will begin at 7 p.m. And then on Tuesday, February the 5th, we move to the Franklin Brown Community Center at 7 p.m. again, when we will meet and discuss and solicit ideas from the general public. and we will culminate this series at the Nevis Red Cross building on Thursday, February 14th, again at 7 p.m. And so I would like to use this opportunity to invite the general public, invite Nevisians, Kittitians if possible, to come on out, to interact with members of the Nevis Culturama Committee and the Ministry of Culture. We want to hear from you.
Mr. Antonio Abanati Liburd. The committee launched the Culturama 45 slogan competition on July 26, 2018. Elderly citizens here on Nevis continue to be remembered by individuals in the community. On Wednesday, 23rd January, a donation was made to the Flamboyant Nursing Home from a corporate citizen that will see the donation benefiting those who work and to those residing in the home. During a handing over ceremony at the home, a number of blood pressure apparatus, glucometers, and bedside tables were donated by Dr. Ravi Shinaswamy of the Nevis Dental Clinic. He expressed hope that the gift would assist in the residents' comfort. Assistant Hospital Administrator Ms. Chanel Mills accepted the items, thanked Dr. Shinaswamy, and gave her assurance that the items would be used in the residents' care. Finally, the St. Kitts Tourism Authority is projecting more than 1.2 million cruise passengers for the 2018-2019 cruise season. This is the most passengers recorded ever for the St. Kitts cruise sector. The island also recorded its highest number of arrival of cruise passengers in one day for the season on Wednesday, 23rd January, with over 13,000 passengers arriving on the island. Also in port were the Crown Princes with a maximum capacity of 3,592 and the Costa Pacifica with a maximum capacity of 2,800, a grand total of 14,172 passengers. This, as the world's largest cruise ship, Symphony of the Seas, arrived with a maximum capacity of 6,780 passengers. St. Kitts has established itself as one of the leading cruise destinations in the Caribbean. That's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonmedia.com or check us out on Facebook at Von Radio and our Von Radio YouTube channel. News from across the region is next.
We know you have your personal as well as your business needs, and we're here to help. Our knowledgeable staff will work with you to help you achieve the financial success that you or your company needs in a competitive market. We offer solutions that make your banking experience easier, like our savings and checking accounts. Be sure to ask about our youth savers accounts and our Bank of Nevis Gold Club. We offer a wide range of personal loans, including mortgage, land, student, auto, and consumer loans. Have access to your funds instantly with our BeOnline internet banking and our debit and credit cards. We make international banking and investing easy. How's your business? Give it the leverage it really needs by letting the Bank of Nevis assist you with all the necessary funding for all your business expenses. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/thebankofnevis.
Welcome back. Another regional news in detail. Out of Venezuela. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has broken off relations with the U.S. after it recognized opposition leader Juan Guaido as interim leader. Mr. Maduro gave U.S. diplomats 72 hours to leave the country, but the U.S. said the former president no longer had the authority to order them out. On Wednesday, Mr. Guaido had declared himself president during mass protests. The U.S. has urged the military to back Mr. Guaido, but so far it has remained loyal to Mr. Maduro. Mr. Maduro took office in 2013 after the death of Hugo Chavez. He was sworn in for a second term this month after elections last May that were marred by an opposition boycott and widespread claims of vote rigging. Venezuela has been in economic freefall. Hyperinflation, power cuts, and shortages of basic items have driven millions of people from the country. Out of Dominica. Chief Medical Officer of Dominica, Mr. David Johnson, has said that the Ministry of Health is taking the necessary actions to prevent an outbreak of dengue in Dominica. This announcement comes in the wake of a regional alert issued by the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, regarding an outbreak of the virus in the Caribbean region. The dengue virus has so far affected the French islands of Guadeloupe, Martinique, and Saint Martin. The number of cases in these islands have been increasing, says Dr. Johnson, and Dominicans are therefore encouraged to be prepared. In terms of precautionary measures, the ministry is encouraging the public health to get rid of old drums, tires, and other materials that could collect water to stop the breeding of mosquitoes in their homes and community. People are also advised to avoid being bitten by the mosquito and ensure their safety by using insect repellent, wearing long clothing, and sleeping under mosquito nets. Out of Guadeloupe. Officials at the Official Office of the Geological and Mining Research, BRGM, gathered in Guadeloupe with the Caribbean partners last week to officially launch the Caribbean Coast Program. In the context of repeated storm crises and rising sea levels, the Carib Coast Project aims to initiate a Caribbean network for the prevention and crisis management of coastal risks in relation to climate change. It comprises pooling, co-constructing, and disseminating knowledge and approaches to coastal risk management in the Caribbean. The project includes the entire island Caribbean with focus on the French Caribbean territories of Guadeloupe, Martinique, and Saint Martin, alongside Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico. It will notably provide a digital marine submersion modeling platform, a coastal erosion monitoring and prevention network based on nature-based solutions, and operational risk management tools. Benefiting from a broad partnership and piloted by the BRGM of Guadeloupe, this project is supported by the Association of Caribbean States, ACS, and the Caribbean Community Center for Climate Change, 5C, among others. Finally, out of Trinidad. The ever-expanding Sandals Resort franchise had been in negotiations with the Trinidad and Tobago government to open a resort on the island of Tobago until news broke on January 15, 2019, that the company was pulling out. Although the two parties signed a memorandum of understanding on October 10, 2017, no contracts were forthcoming, and according to Sandals, the cumulative effect of the negative narratives surrounding the 700-plus room hotel was a deciding factor in its decision to opt out. With Sandals' exit, high hopes for diversifying the country's economy with the help of a successful tourism brand were dashed. Trinidad and Tobago's gross domestic product still leans heavily towards the energy industry. Diminishing oil and natural gas resources have prompted successive governments to peddle the idea of diversification. Now, many are saying it's all talk and no action, and blame is flying every way. And that's it for the regional stories. Stay with us for news from around the world. Welcome back. Another international news in detail. Russia has condemned foreign powers for backing a Venezuelan opposition leader who declared himself interim president, calling it a bid to usurp power. Moscow said that the move violated international law and was a direct path to bloodshed. Wang Guodong declared himself interim leader on Wednesday, a move recognized by the U.S. and several other nations. Sarah Rainsford reports.
Russia is warning of dire consequences in Venezuela, accusing external forces, led by the United States, of fueling chaos there by supporting opposition to President Maduro. The Kremlin spokesman has talked of an illegal attempt to seize power. The Foreign Ministry has warned that such an approach will only escalate the conflict, deepen splits, and push Venezuela in a dangerous direction. Most worrying, Moscow says, are the signals it sees from a series of countries that military intervention has not been ruled out.
The new president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, has been sworn into office. He told supporters at the ceremony at the presidential palace in Kinshasa he wanted to build a reconciled Congo. Mr. Tshisekedi was briefly taken ill before resuming his speech. He is taking over from Joseph Kabila in the first peaceful transfer of power in the country in nearly 60 years, though many still dispute his victory in last month's presidential election. Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta was the only African head of state out of 17 invited to watch the ceremony. Jay-Z, Meek Mill, and sport and business leaders have pledged $50 million to reform the U.S. criminal justice system. The Reform Alliance, which was inspired by Meek Mill's recent stint in prison for a minor probation violation, hopes to free 1 million prisoners in 5 years. The owners of the New England Patriots and Philadelphia 76ers, Robert Kraft and Michael Rubin, are co-founders. Reform says it wants to help people who are trapped in the system. The group's mission is to dramatically reduce the number of people who are unjustly under the control of the criminal justice system, starting with probation and parole. And finally, Renault and Nissan have pledged to continue the alliance as its architect Carlos Ghosn resigned from the French carmaker. Mr. Ghosn's resignation came as he remained incarcerated in Japan, where he is accused of financial misconduct at Nissan. Renault said Michelin's Jean-Dominique Senard had been appointed chairman and Thierry Bellerin chief executive. Hugh Scofield reports.
The French government, a major shareholder in Renault, had made clear that notwithstanding his presumption of innocence, Mr. Ghosn could not remain at the helm of the French company if his incarceration in Japan were to be prolonged. With no sign of his imminent release, Renault was already preparing a new management team, and now, by resigning, Mr. Ghosn has spared everyone the awkwardness of having to be dismissed.
That's it for our news segments. The latest in sports is next.
Most of us spend the better part of each weekday at the workplace. So why not make your office environment the kind of setting that helps you function at your personal best by outfitting it with top quality furniture, high-end photocopiers, printers, versatile office supplies, and the latest technology. The friendly and knowledgeable staff at the TDC Business Center are happy to provide you with personalized service to help you create an office space that's the total package. TDC Business Center, providing solutions that work.
Welcome back. Another sports in detail. In cricket, India's cricket board has lifted the suspensions of Hardik Pandya and KL Rahul with immediate effect. The pair were suspended and sent home from their country's tour of Australia after comments about women on a television show. But the BCCI says the bans have been lifted pending appointment and adjudication of the allegations against the pair. Both players had apologized to the BCCI following the controversy. All-rounder Pandya could now join up with India's squad for the limited over series in New Zealand, while batsman Rahul might play in either domestic cricket or for India A in an ongoing home series against England Lions. In athletics, 42 Russian athletes have been cleared to compete as neutrals this year by the International Association of Athletics Federation, IAAF. Athletics World Governing Body banned Russia in November 2015 because of evidence of state-sponsored doping. The IAAF said that those cleared to compete under a neutral banner have met the exceptional eligibility criteria. It added that it was prioritizing applications from athletes wishing to compete in the current indoor season. Russia will learn on Tuesday whether it is to face fresh sanctions over December's missed deadline to allow investigators from the World Anti-Doping Agency access to the Moscow laboratory at the epicenter of the doping scandal. In football, the search for missing footballer Emiliano Sala and the pilot David Ibbotson has been called off after rescuers failed to find their plane. Cardiff City Argentine striker 28 and Mr. Ibbotson from Crowle, Lincolnshire, were on the aircraft that disappeared from radar on Monday. After 3 days of scoring the English Channel, authorities made the decision to abandon the search. But Salah's sister Romina pleaded with rescuers to keep looking for him. Guernsey police tweeted this afternoon to say rescuers were no longer actively searching for the plane. Harbour Master Captain David Barker said the chances of survival were extremely remote. And finally, in tennis, U.S. Open champion Naomi Osaka reached back-to-back Grand Slam finals with a hard-fought win over Czech 7th seed Karolina Pliskova at the Australian Open. The Japanese 4th seed won 6-2, 4-6, 6-4 and will face Petra Kvitova, another Czech, in Saturday's showpiece. Osaka 21 hit 15 aces and 56 winners in a confident display. The semi-final was played under the Rod Laver Arena roof as temperatures touched 40 degrees in Melbourne. The final will see Osaka and 28-year-old Kvitova, who has reached her first Grand Slam final since being stabbed in December 2016, battling for the world #1 ranking. That's it for sports. The general weather forecast is next. Welcome back, and now the local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. Weather tonight will be partly cloudy with a 30% or low chance of showers. Weather tomorrow will be cloudy with showers. Winds are easterly at 26 to 37 kilometers per hour or 14 to 20 knots, with some gusts mainly in showers. Seas are 2.1 to 2.8 meters or 7 to 9 feet, with northerly swells between 1.8 to 2.1 meters or 6 to 7 feet. Surfs as high as 10 feet are possible as the swells break on our shores, and hence a high surf advisory remains in effect for beachgoers. A small craft advisory is also in effect. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:44 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the Major News package for today, Thursday, 24th January 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, radiation therapy to begin shortly on Nevis, and ECCB to introduce new banknotes. Regionally, Maduro cuts ties after U.S. backs opposition. Internationally, Russia condemns bid to usurp power from Maduro. And in sports, Hardik Pandya and KL Rahul bans lifted by BCCI. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Tashan Tyson, wishing you a pleasant evening.